Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, it is. You
How was
feeling like
school
a Thursday?
yesterday? Man, it is feeling like a Thursday. I'm feeling some pressure. Self
Okay.
self-imposed pressure, but pressure nonetheless.
Yeah. Good. Yesterday was good. No
Nothing
bumps,
crazy.
no bruises. Uh, Simple day. I got to meet with another BMS coach, and we ended up talking for like 3 hours on the porch of Starbucks. So that was super cool. Hey, Mike Tal, hadn't seen you in a
Good
little bit.
morning, Mike. Haven't seen you in a bit, man. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're here.
Yeah. So yeah, it was good. What about you?
Um, Nothing too crazy. We recorded a podcast last night for Sales Throwdown. We talked about looking for gratitude as a salesperson, right? Because um you stand in the face of adversity a lot. People don't want to talk to you. They want to put you off. They just want to collect your information. It can be quite a thankless job. And um, how do you hone your mindset so that way it doesn't bother you, it doesn't bog you down and stuff. And for me, that has been like looking for gratitude. But it was interesting because Clint, who is our D on the show, um, doesn't really see a whole lot of value in the gratitude side of things. I mean, he has it, he gives it out to people and stuff like this. It was a very interesting episode because I kind of realized I'm I'm working on the problem very differently than they are, which is totally fine.
Well, that's kind of the cool thing about the show, right? You get different angles on how people handle that.
That's the hope and the dream.
Yeah.
What have you been swamped with, Mike? You say you've been a bit swamped. Is there anything specific that
Other 7:45 a.m. podcasts that you've been binging, or
you cheating on us, bro?
I will come for you. Oh, so quick.
We picked this time slot because nobody else was here. We're supposed to have universal adoption.
That's right. I read this book, Blue Ocean Strategy, and it's a garbage. Look for the open waters.
The blue ocean strategy. What's so funny is how much jargon we have, and then you go talk to somebody else, and they don't know any of this. Like I was on a call and somebody said blue ocean, and they were like, "Aren't they all blue?" And it's like, no, they're not all blue. When you quite some of them are quite red, and let's talk about what that means now. Working on house stuff. Okay, Mike, that is a worthy excuse to not be here and hanging out with us, man. I hope that's going well. Better you than me.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
What do you got today, Bill?
So today I got some pretty good ideas for finding target market people from the other coach, which instead of saying other coach, his name's Jake too, so I didn't want to confuse everybody. But the other coach gave me some really thoughtful, good ideas on finding some the type of people I'm looking to work with. So I'm going to be building a plan to execute on for next week based on some of his recommendations. I'm supposed to follow up with him because he's going to help me kind of chart what he was talking about. So I will bring those up on the show once we get those. But he just had some clever ideas for backing into conversations and finding stories that I've thought about in crossing, but never for myself. So I'm gonna be working on some of that. I've got some more writing to do for scripts for a couple of things that we're doing, and then I've got a meeting today from 10 to 11:30 with a client, and then I've got a networking event at noon, and then I've got let's see, Thursday, something else tonight, but it's not my work day. So pretty full day.
Dang, it's a lot. Yeah. Well, I have a question. Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Michelle. We have this. And by we, I mean me. We should start, doing this because I noticed when you were on the pirate broadcast the other day, he was doing a really good job of like looping in the people. So I'm going to work on that because I like the interaction. I like how they did it. So, good morning, Anne. Good morning, Michelle, and good morning, Mike.
And Levi, if you haven't commented yet.
Yes, and
You want to
Levi,
go?
if he might be dadding around and
Okay.
trying to get kids off to school and stuff like that, and he might not even be here. He could just be sleeping in and saying, "Screw you guys, I've got it all
Right.
figured out."
Dreaming of frisbee golf. Yeah.
um, this is an in-person networking group.
No. Today's.
Oh, okay.
No.
So what is it? Is it the Blessed by Networking, the
Nope.
BBN?
No. It's another one I got invited to. So I really know very little about it, but
Oh,
we'll
okay.
see, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I have. Well, that's not really true, but I can't imagine. No, that's not true. Sorry, that was a bad statement. Because like I do like a fair amount of networking in groups, and I do mostly one-on-ones. But like going to a regular, like networking group, I think would be very odd, especially if you had started the group before all of this shift. I think that would be kind of a hard shift to kind of weather. There he is, the man.
So there's the man, the myth.
Good morning, Levi.
Not quite the legend yet, but
not quite soon.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I was in Blessed by Networking before all this happened, and we had a monthly meeting, and we just switched to an online monthly meeting. And we had a lot of interaction in our Facebook group, and we had workshops and things like that. It's just all moved online. I mean, it's the only difference. So it's a big difference, but we basically run the same amount of activity, if not more now, just online.
You know, I used to really like the idea of having like a weekly networking group, and things like monthly networking groups. I didn't really see a whole lot of value in, but thinking about it now and how you just burn through content and trying to put on like a weekly group meeting.
Oh yeah.
Because like my approach to networking is like I'm not trying to sell anybody in that room. Right. I'm trying to get every one of those people in that room out to have a coffee or have a meeting with me to see who they know, see what they do and stuff like that. So largely, I don't really need the group anymore. Right. I think the group is a great buffer because it's like, oh, hey, come hang out with us and stuff like that. But once you figure out that you need to go talk to those people in one-on-one situations because they have their own agenda and it might not include you, right, in that meeting. So don't try to sell to the people into that room because nobody likes that person anyway. And you're just going to go have a coffee in a one-on-one situation so you can go deeper and look for introductions and referrals. Why not just take this little middle section out? You know what I'm saying? And then you just start on LinkedIn. Hey, would you like to network with me? You know what I'm saying? And then you've got a lot more volume and ability to kind of cut out the middleman and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm an I. So I like people. So I like hanging out with people sometimes. So there is some of that. That's fair. But I also think, if you have a flourishing group, there's new people in the group all the time. So when you meet them in person, there tends to be a bigger trust factor, and it's easier to get those one-on-ones. So that's one reason I like committing to one group per se. And then if you actually really like what the group's about, kind of what the group's for and the values and things like that, then the education each month's valuable to you, stuff like every month there's a good speaker in. So there's pros and cons to it for sure. I've definitely not liked certain setups of groups where the same people over and over and over and over, never changes. I'm not a big fan of that, but
so I've been sorry, say that again.
I said I just like to do both LinkedIn and a group. So you have like a home base.
What I think is weird, at least in my own personal experience, I was on the board of a networking group, and then I ran a networking group. And when you're on the board or you're running it, like there's this constant need to create content, something to talk about for the majority of the meeting, right? Especially if you're meeting weekly, which is what we were doing in both of the groups I was in. And it's hard to always have, oh, here's what we're going to talk about today, right? And you try to mix it up and you do different things and stuff like this. But now I would much prefer, I think, a monthly thing, right? You get some new people in there and that's super easy, but your prospecting is still going on over here. I would much rather do it that way than.
So, how I think a weekly could work is if you make it into more of a mastermind group than a networking group, because you could do the networking per se once a month, and then weekly, whoever wanted to be a part of it, literally it's break up into a group of 4 or 5 or whatever and go masterminds for half an hour. Like that takes up your content portion or something like that. Because people who engage in masterminding tend to love it or hate it. Like I found no in betweens really.
Really?
Yeah, mostly. Because they're like, this is dumb. Like, why would I sit here and tell people my problems, like about my business? How am I going to tell people my problems? Or, oh my gosh, that was the best 30 minutes of my entire week. I just got 3 new ideas to solve this one problem. I never would have thought of that. I'm coming back next week. This is awesome.
What do you think the difference is
between networking and masterminding?
Yeah.
I think they're completely different. Networking is, hey, tell me about you. Let me get to know your business. Who's your target market? Why do you do what you do? What got you into it? How long you been doing it? Like curiously getting to know someone and finding out how you can connect them with people, and the same, right? It's exchange of relationship and get to know each other and understanding. Mastermind is literally, let's sit down and help each other with something today that we can leave with. And I may not even get a card sometimes in mastermind groups just because we're online. In person, I probably always would, but there's no intention of me. Now, what that does do, though, I think, is if you're in a mastermind group and you happen to click with somebody in the group and you can just tell, hey, let's have a one-on-one and network, right? But it is set up for each person to have 10 to 15 minutes to talk about something and get feedback from the group so that they can solve the issue that's going on with them today.
So why can't you do both?
You could, absolutely. That's kind of what I was saying. But if you, I believe that when you mix those and not have intentional areas, the people who like to network and don't like to mastermind will mess up the mastermind part because, but how'd you do that? Why do you do that? No, that's not the point. We're talking about this issue and trying to help them solve this issue, and vice versa, right? There's the people like me that just want to solve problems sometimes. So that's why I like the idea of a hybrid. Like monthly, you network because you see who's there and you make one-on-ones out of it. And then more often you go, hey, I need 10 to 15 minutes of your time. Can you guys help me? Because right now I have a Slack group, right? And I go into the Slack group, and if I have an issue, I go drop it in the Slack group and I check on it about noon or 2 o'clock. And somebody's responded, if not 5 people, with, this is what happened to me when I did that. Or, I know so-and-so, they can probably help you with that. Or, that's more mastermindy. There's an output.
Interesting. Okay. I think of it differently. In our group, we were always trying to come up with topics to kind of help everybody else out, right? And they're in the meeting.
Yeah.
But you can only,
right?
What's that?
But that's like a presentation though, right?
Sometimes, the way that we ran our group was each week we either had a spotlight session, which means that one of the members got to get up and go in deep or
Sure.
deeper about what they did and who they helped, and also talk about who they're trying to get in front of, their top 10 lists. So that way we could try to source, I know Tim and he works there, and stuff like that. So we would do that. We would just kind of roundtable different topics, and struggle points and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I found is that nobody was ever super eager to speak up about a problem that they were dealing with, because everybody's like, well, I don't want to admit to a problem.
Exactly.
And this is kind of important for sales, right? Because when you make it so easy to be black or white, hey, don't you want this to be better? Nope. I'm good.
That's right.
Right.
There's no questions will kill you.
Especially right there when it's well, don't you want it to be better? Well, I don't, how is it better? And I'm already doing this and I can afford it and it works.
Mm-hmm.
When it's just so easy to hide, right? And just pretend that everything is okay. And that happens in networking. It happens in sales. It happens in pretty much every situation ever.
I think the best way to fix that is to lead out first. That's what I found is in some mastermind groups I've been in that were new mastermind groups. So there were people in there who hadn't masterminded before. We typically, let's say we have 3 groups, we'd have one person leading each mastermind group who would start and be like, hey, this week I was dealing with this issue. What do you guys think about this? So then other people tend to be like, oh yeah, I've dealt with that. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm actually having an issue with this, It's just I think that's what good leaders do too, right? Is they step out first and are vulnerable, so that others can go, okay, well, if this guy who's leading the group is going to do it, then I could probably share something small,
Yeah. When I was running a group inside the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, like I was the president and we had some people on the board, and I was trying to do that very thing of oh, well, anybody have a struggle? And it just crickets. Okay, well, let me tell you about something that I had going on. And, in the beginning that was totally fine, but like it never really kind of picked up. So it felt like every week I was trying to get James Altucher it. Right, man. There I was again. I just lost another $500,000. My family was gone. The business was on fire, and then I decided to go play basketball again. And it's like I think that has its place, but fake vulnerability is worse than.
Oh yeah, you never fake it.
Yeah.
And just like you talk about in sales, framing is everything. So that's another way that I think when you actually call it, hey, this is a mastermind session or this is a mastermind group. The point is we're coming here to share. Like that's what this does. And the plan is to do X, Y, and Z. And I think when you have smaller groups, it tends to work better. I've never been in a mastermind group in over 7, probably.
Yeah.
The group dynamic gets just too intimidating, even for people like me who are like, I'll open my mouth anytime. Like, I don't care. Like, need somebody to talk? I'll talk. What do you want me to talk about? So framing is a big part of it to make that work.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Cool. So going way back, because we got really sidetracked or I did on the networking. My day is pretty light, honestly, right? We recorded the podcast yesterday, so don't have to do that this evening. I got sales lab at 9. We're going to be role playing about like how do you end conversations that aren't checking the boxes, right? Because there's a right way and a wrong way, and most people are like, "Well, I can't help you. Let's just call this thing over and be done with it. See ya." Which is as bad as saying, "Oh, well, you of course want to fix this. When do you want me to come in?" Like it doesn't involve the other person whatsoever. So is it any wonder that people are pissed off whenever like this kind of stuff is applied badly, right? But whereas when you can make it into a question that actually involves the other person, Jake, I kind of get the feeling that maybe you've already made a decision that we're not going to work together. Is that where we are? He can then answer and respond to that question, and we get to continue the conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes whenever we're doing this and we're trying to get away from a situation because we've discovered it's gone bad, we're too task oriented. We don't actually make it a conversation. We just make it a statement. And when that is viewed as bad on the positive side, right, assuming the sale and doing all these things, it's also bad on the negative side because you're not involving the other person, right? This conversation is usually made up of 2 parties, right? Unless you're just like a really bad salesperson, and then you're just like selling to yourself because nobody else is listening to you. So how do you make that as collaborative as possible? So that way you can, because I get a lot of conversations kind of recentered and refixed after we get to a no, right? Because I can, hey, how'd you make that decision? Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Well, since I don't have anything to lose, can I tell you that you're doing that wrong without making you mad? What do you mean I'm doing it wrong? Well, how, nobody else does it this way. You've done it this way for a while and you've had bad things come from it. At what point do you like realize, hey, there might be a different way? Like being able to have that conversation on the other side of the no is super powerful and important. But that doesn't happen whenever you go for the no in like the form of just like this is it. I'm done. I'll see you later. There's no opportunity for that to happen.
Yeah, my dad used to say when I was young, he was like, you're not in a relationship with a girl until you've been in a fight. Like there's no such thing. You've just been around each other, but there's no relationship until you've fought. Because once you hit that friction point, you get to see how everyone reacts, and you get to start uncovering things. That'd be minute, but it might be massive. But it kind of reminds me of that.
That's really interesting. Really interesting. It makes me think of this thing that Jay says. Jay is Michelle's husband, and he's a kung fu guy as well. And he was like, "Man, you can't be badass until like you've actually had your ass beat, right? Like there's just no way for you to know that you're going to be able to perform under pressure unless you've been in those kind of pressure-filled situations." So I think that makes sense, right? And if you're talking to somebody and you it sounds like there's a big blaring no here that you just haven't talked about yet. Go talk about it, because if your view of it is one side and their view of it is the other, are you ever going to get past that thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody, I don't know who it is. Somebody says race to the no. That's like their big phrase, race to the no, because that's where you're going to find the good stuff.
I mean, I agree with that. I think at some point in the past, I've been way too eager to go for that no, right? Because I think that just like nobody wants to deal with a salesperson who is just like making a bunch of assumptions about the yes and like trying to trap them into a yes. You can go the other way of this as well, right? If you're just like, oh yeah, no, you don't want this, it comes across as fake and does way more damage than it does benefit.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, the right path is the natural one but I think it's probably more of a don't avoid the no. Let it slide right into the no if that's where the conversation's headed naturally.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I realized in my journaling this morning that as we were talking about the big seven, right, and kind of going through the process of like practicing those things that you're prepared, the other big thing is like what happens if you don't match up, right? If you have a $2,500 product and they can only afford $250, you got to be able to put that thing down. Right. And move on to somebody who might have $2,000 that you can stretch. Sometimes budgets are stretchable and sometimes they're just not. So if you're talking to someone and they've got, $20 and you need $200, hey, I don't think I can help you for that amount. Should we talk about increasing the budget, or should we talk about maybe stripping this down to make it fit your budget? Or do you think that we should just kind of call this thing over? At least then we get to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I had a conversation like that last week, actually, about doing a website rebuild with a story brand session and writing an email funnel for him, like kind of a whole little package. And he wouldn't give any price. And so we were talking about, great, okay, well, typically when we do this, this, and this, we charge this amount. How does that sound around your budget? Because he wouldn't give us a budget. And he was like, okay, I understand, that makes sense. And then I asked some questions to clarify what he got for that and some things like that. And this would be interesting to see what your response would have been in this situation. He said, okay, he goes, I've got 2 more people I'm price checking, which he was, and he did, because I want to see what they can do this for. He goes, would you mind sending that over to me in a proposal? So but it was very clear. He did not hide the fact that he literally was getting on a phone call in an hour with another person to ask them the same question that was also a story brand person.
Yeah.
So what's your response in that?
So so as you in that moment, what's your concern whenever he's not giving you budget and he's telling you he's going to talk to 2 more people? Like what is running through your head in that moment?
He's price shopping. He wants the cheapest amount for the most amount of work, or the cheapest price tag and the most amount of work. But it was pretty clear. He wasn't hiding that. Yeah,
absolutely. So, but we're making a big assumption.
Right? To answer your question, my concern was that we're never the cheapest. We don't place ourselves. We place ourselves more like in the 75th percentile. So like we're never going to be close to the cheapest. So my concern was, I don't want to waste too much time with this guy if truly he is looking for, the bargain basement price, because that's not us.
All right. So this is important, right? I think anyway, right? Because it's super easy to make that assumption that, oh, you're talking to 3 other people because you just want to pay the cheapest, right? What if he just hasn't ever done this before and doesn't know really who he's looking to work with? Maybe it's not about being the cheapest. Maybe it's just, hey, this is new and I don't really know what this thing looks like. So I need to talk to a couple of people just to get a feel for what this world is.
So that's a good question. I think in some cases that can definitely be the case, but he is a BMS coach and he's been through StoryBrand, so he knows exactly what he's getting into. He was trying to delineate specific deliverables. Like, this. And so this was a case where I really did feel like, and speed. So speed, his 2 big triggers were, I need this yesterday and I need to pay as little as possible, which you and I both were like, okay, great. Well, that means the quality is not going to be great, or we have to strip out a bunch of stuff if you need speed. And so that's how we responded, by the way. So we sent a proposal over and said, we sent him a stripped down version, because what I had, and I even bumped James in private chat, was like, hey, let him know that if it has to be done fast and he needs the cheapest possible, that we'll have to strip out some of the work. Don't say it that way, but like we'll have to do less, because we don't just do a 50% version of our work. We take out work and do it all 100%. And so he was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate that. He goes, why don't you send me that version instead? So that's what we ended up.
So 2 things there, right? First, when he's talking about price and here's The minute he tells me that he's talking to some other people, I mean, that makes complete sense. I'm curious, how do you decide who you end up working with, right? This is all the Wild West. It's very hard to compare apples to apples. So if you're going to talk to 3 people, you're going to hear 3 very different price points, 3 very different things that are going to come along with it. How do you make the decision what's right for you?
Yep.
Right. A good fit is what most people are going to say. Yeah, it's going to be a good fit. Okay, I appreciate that. What does a good fit look like for you? Right. I'm not going to let them hide in their, ambiguous language. I'm going to like push it and push it and push it a little bit, because I want you to tell me, hey, I have no idea how much this costs. I'm trying to figure out what it should cost. Okay. If I'm the first person you talk to and you have no idea how much this costs, can we just agree that there's probably going to be some sticker shock? Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be some sticker shock. Okay, great. What does it need to be based upon the timeline that is rushed, in your words?
Well, we got that information finally because we were asking, we didn't do it the same way, but the same thought was in mind, was that, great, you want to work in the community because of trust. You want to stay in the BMS story brand community. So it's going to be someone in that. And so it's someone
you got big pain there, man. Huge pain points there.
Oh yeah. But he was comparing us against other people in the community. So that was like the first hurdle. He was like, I'm not going anywhere else but here because I trust the process, and I know you guys are qualified to take me through it. So that was kind of his first admission. And then the second was, I need this done like ASAP because I've got this thing that's going to happen in 2 weeks and blah, 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 or whatever. Okay, second pain point. And then third pain point, I don't have all the money in the world. So I need to see if I can get this done quickly and cheap. Okay, great. Tell me more about that. So we weren't a proper fit because we don't work ahead of schedule and we don't work below our own budgets. Now we'll take work out and we'll reduce timelines so that there's less to do so we can get it done quicker. But he wanted the whole thing for less money. I think it ended up just being a no on our side. No, we're not a good fit. Even though he's the one that said, I found someone else who will do it for a few grand less. Great. Fantastic. Hope that works out really well for you. Let us know if we can support you in the future. But
I wouldn't have even put together a proposal around that. I would have been, if I'm talking to that guy and he's like, look, time is of the essence. I'm kind of broke, and I'm talking to 2 other people. Okay. Would it make more sense for you to go talk to those 2 other people first, figure out what they can do? And then if neither one of those fit and you want to talk about kind of like putting together a solution that makes sense with the idea that, time is of the essence and you don't have the most money, then we can come back and talk about a scope of work. Because I'm not going to put together a scope of work for someone who has essentially told me that they're looking for the cheapest option and speed is of the essence and all of these things, right?
I think the reason we did it though is because we have templates. So all we had to do, it took less than 10 minutes to put that proposal together for them. Okay. So it was the same idea though. Like if you're looking for this price point, here's what we can do, and we'll put that in writing for you so that you can. Which I wouldn't
have even put it in writing. I would have been like, hey, look, if this makes sense and you want to formalize this, let's have that conversation. But man, and this is kind of my pet peeve about proposals in general, right? Because so many people, their kind of like main KPI is like, I need to give out X number of proposals, right? And so then you're just giving proposals to anybody who will take one. Like your Aunt Sally is probably not a qualified prospect, so giving her a proposal shouldn't meet that KPI number, right? So for me, I would have been pushing that guy towards the no the minute he told me all those things. Like, hey, I'm not sure that we're going to be the right ones to help you. What are your thoughts on that? Get in and talk about that.
That makes sense. That's good.
Well, awesome, man. Well, it's 8:15, so I need to go. Anything going to get in your way today?
I don't think so. It's all pretty well planned out. You?
No, man. I've got a lot of writing to do and some creativity. This course thing, since I've not done it, is just like looming as this thing that I cannot think my head past. It's driving me crazy. So I need to spend some time on that, and I have that time today, so plan to do that. But sales practice lab. 4:15 is what I've been kind of working on this week, sir. It's been pretty good.
Okay.
My Saturday is going to suck because I don't know if everybody knows this, but I did talk about. Oh, well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. So because I got to go.
There you go. All right, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Levi and Michelle, Mike. It was good to see you, sir. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the long one.
See you, Bill.
See you, Bill.